Hello, I'm Ryan F9, and these are the 3 best cheeses of 2023. Well, it's April, so if you don't have a cheese list for the year, you're messing up your life. I've been working overtime to impress my lady. But to fine dine on the finest duck à l'orange takes an 8-hour flight to Paris and an 8-month reservation. To woo her with the ultimate Bordeaux cost $2,000 for a 1986 Chateau Lafite. Cheese is our equalizer. These are the world's finest award-winning flavors, yet $7 will buy a 100-gram wedge right here, right now. Maximum flirtation in the time of inflation, but only if we know the 3 to choose. Rockafar Gabriel Coulet, Blackburn Cheddar, Queso de Cabra al Romero. Individually stunning and ingenious when interwoven. I'll show you how to make a morning after cheese sauce that would make a nun come for seconds, but first, solos. Rockafar Gabriel Coulet is the Frenchiest of French cheeses. 300 BC. Un garçon is eating his lunch in the caves of Rockafar when he spots a belle maiden. Impassioned, he chases after her, only to return 5 months later and find his cheese has molded into sacre bleu. The moral is to take an inordinately long lunch break, chase your mistress, and tous les choses will turn out délicieux. Vive la France. More scientifically, Penicillium rockeforti naturally exists in the soil of such caves, modeling sheep's cheese into veins of subterranean acidity, plastered by a supernatural creaminess. There are 7 cave holders in Rockafar, and Gabriel Coulet is one of the smallest. No sacrifices of scale, no tourist trap, just a single family with a single cave and a singularly good cheese. The trick with Rockafar is to let it warm up. Eating this straight from the fridge will ice out any gooiness, and is considered a crime against the state. Now for cheddar, we go to Quebec. Controversial, I know. See, cheddar is properly British. British weather is monotone, so early cheesemakers just spread some butter on their curds and came back 2 years later to a sharp brick. Very British. The French have Cantal, which is left exposed to the atmosphere, growing a thick, funky rind that scares children. It's very French. Then there's American cheese, typically aged in wax or plastic, that bans atmospheric flavorants, yet returns the full mass. So there's more to eat, very American. But historically, Quebec doesn't agree with the Brits, or the French, or the Americans. See, the New World had volatile weather and an abundance of cotton, so cheese agers pioneered this. Cloth binding still allows age sharpening, but that exoskeleton limits volumetric loss, so the result is less dense than English cheddar. It also permits a funky rind a la France, though the cloth keeps it thin and threaded and actually edible. But most dramatically, cloth binding allows the atmospheric intrusion that American wax forbids. These psycho microbes shatter protein chains into free amino acids, which find each other and recombine in crystal form. Crunchy little clusters we call tyrosine, a textural curiosity that introduces weak points so the cheddar crumbles without being dry. Et voila, we go to Quebec for cloth-bound cheddars. And I chose Blackburn because they won Super Gold at the World Cheese Awards in 2011 and dick all since, meaning their cheese is top shelf, but no longer overpriced. And finally, we cleanse our palates with Queso de Cabra al Romero. After this heavyweight 1-2 to the gallbladder, Cabra is our refresher cheese. It's translucently light, goat's milk carrying fewer microproteins and smaller fat globules. The result is easier to digest, even for poor bastards cursed with lactose intolerance. As the cheese binge goes on, you'll find yourself more and more seeking respite in the Cabra. Our rest in the shade is chilled by grassy notes, the rosemary crust, the citrus finish. We tend to think of goat's cheese as a muddy barnyard, but this texture is refreshingly opposite. It's light and confectionery, it's almost like a meringue. Sheep, cow, goat. Old world, new world, Spain, Quebec, France. Baguette is our boogie board, red wine, the wave. With French bottles, you're paying to cross the ocean. Okanagan, you're paying to terraform a landscape meant for whites. Californian, you're paying a failed startup CEO to stomp your grapes, so choose an Argentinian Malbec. Smoky enough to stand up to Rockafar, and $20 will land a quality single varietal thanks to their crashing economy. Cheers. Good morning. As you should expect, I have 3 wee wedges left because Sister Agatha was too polite to finish anything. Excellent. And this sauce will be our coup de grace. Start with melting butter. Not too much because we'll monte au beurre at the end. Next add garlic and shallots, because onions are for people without imagination. The scoop of flour must never be measured, and the chef who uses measuring cups is an Oompa Loompa, not a chef. And besides, this just determines the thickness of our sauce, and it's easier to fine-tune with fluid. Now, chicken better than bouillon is legitimately better than bouillon. But we must remember that fine food is about focus. Nobody wants hunks of bouillon and shallot and garlic and cheese sauce. I want a cheese sauce. So let's blend away the distractions. My immersion only has 0.2 horsepower, but it hits down low off idle. White mushrooms are only appropriate if you're 4 and prefer flavorless fungi. Creminis are just portobellos with stunted childhoods. Find shimejis. They look fancy, but easily fall apart at the first cut, like the Toronto Maple Leafs. Once those wilt, we kill the fire and add our fragments. And cheese should melt in the sauce rather than cook with it, otherwise you risk separating an oily mess. Pepper, not salt. Cheese is salty enough. And finalement, monte au beurre. And this is why the unattainable restaurant sauce glistens more than yours, but not anymore.